How about them Cowboys?
Angry Cowboys Fan, born to battle. Star on our chest means we never sell. America's team through thick and thin. When the star shines bright, that's when we win. Angry Cowboys Fan.
What's going on, Cowboys Nation and Angry Cowboys fans around the world? Y'all know who it is. It's your man, the Angry Cowboys Fan in Cowboys Nation. I've been reading and I've been hearing this whole narrative amongst Cowboys fans as well as talking heads for the Dallas Cowboys that this year has to be chalked up as a failure for our Dallas Cowboys. That this year wouldn't be a success for Brian Schottenheimer if the Dallas Cowboys missed the playoffs. On the DLLS podcast, the guys had Joe Trahan from WFAA. They were talking about the Dallas Cowboys and if they had a successful year. So we're going to take a listen to the two clips that I got for y'all, and y'all know what we're going to do after that. We're going to come back and unpack this raw and uncut. So, Angry Cowboys fans, let's take a listen to Jeff Kavanaugh, Pop, and Mr. Fourth and Long as they have Joe Trahan on the show to talk about the Dallas Cowboys.
Now, if they don't make the playoffs, with the way that they have turned around this season, front office did them a solid getting Quinn and Williams, giving them an opportunity. I do believe the front office put them behind the 8 ball with the way the season was set up and them playing catch up. And you know, when you think about a defensive coordinator, Matt Eberflus, he has had his struggles and they have been mighty, but you can't just take off the table the fact that his best, you know, chess piece was taken away right before the regular season started. Okay. But even with all of that, they put them in a position to where they could make a run. They've begun to make that run. They stumble mightily. And to me, showed a lack of sense of urgency against the Lions. Now they have another opportunity. We don't know if it'll come to fruition, but I mean, they can win out in these last 4 games. The Chargers defense was pretty tough, but they can win out in these last 4 games. If they don't win out in these last 4 games, I don't think you can call it a successful season for Schottenheimer. Is anyone going to call for his job? No. But there were opportunities to continue to take steps forward. And if they don't win out, if they don't make the playoffs, they didn't make good on some of those, you know, opportunities. I will say that.
All right, so I'm going to keep it a buck, Cowboys Nation. Joe Trahan gave too much credit to the Dallas Cowboys front office as if they completely hooked Brian Schottenheimer up with a foolproof plan on how to make it to the Super Bowl, and he just didn't get it done. It's not the case, Cowboys Nation. Brian Schottenheimer has had this offense in the top 5 in yards as well as scoring this year. He's had this offense motivated to go into these games and to give it everything that they got. It's been the pieces that Brian Schottenheimer didn't ask for that's been holding this team back. We'll talk about how the front office has placed Brian Schottenheimer behind the 8 ball before the season starts during my raw and uncut portion. So make sure you stick around for that. But go ahead, jumping into this second clip. Mr. Fourth and Long asked Joe Trahan if he thinks that the front office will be more aggressive during free agency next year. So let's go ahead and take a listen to that so we can come back and unpack this raw and uncut.
Hope that they would. I hope that they would learn from when you go out and create at least some sense of urgency and make an aggressive move, that there can be, you know, good things that happen from it. But I just don't, when you look at the last, I wouldn't say 30 years, but when you look at the last 15 years, it sure seems like this front office is risk averse and they are afraid of taking those big swings. I feel like Jerry Jones was almost backed into this corner before he could take the big swing and go after a guy like Quinn and Williams, right? This season was going, you know, in an absolute nosedive, and he needed something not just, you know, from a roster building standpoint, but from a marketing standpoint. It felt like he needed to make a big swing, and he did, and we've seen what has come from it. You would hope they would learn from it, but I don't know if they will.
All right, guys, sorry about that. I had to go preheat the oven for my wife, but I'm back now. Well, Mr. Trahan said, if we can sell the hope. Well, Mr. Trahan, isn't this what the front office has been doing for the last 30 years? Selling Cowboys Nation hope? Selling us a dream? You know what? Let's go ahead and get into it. Y'all ready for this Raw and Uncut? Y'all ready? Let's get it. Get ready for the Angry Cowboys fans, Raw and Uncut.
I'm being keeping it real. They keep it real. That's real.
All right, Cowboys Nation. If the Dallas Cowboys don't make it to the playoffs this year, Joe Trahan has said that it would be a net negative showing for our Dallas Cowboys, and I'd have to beg to differ on that, Cowboys Nation. This year, this Dallas Cowboys team was placed behind the 8 ball from Jump Street, from the jump. Jerry and Stephen Jones hired Brian Schottenheimer to lead this team for 4 years, to lead this team to a place that it hasn't been in 3 decades. Brian Schottenheimer comes into the job being given the opportunity to build his coach's staff from the ground up, but was forced to take a defensive coordinator that Jerry and Stephen Jones are comfortable with in Matt Eberflus. A defensive coordinator that has been a defensive coordinator for our Dallas Cowboys in the past. The same defensive coordinator that couldn't get a stop against Aaron Rodgers in the divisional round after the offense set the game up to go into overtime. Mr. Matt Eberflus. But the offseason was littered with all kinds of drama, starting with the departure of a transitional talent because of the same people that allegedly set Brian Schottenheimer up good, and that's Jerry Jones. For the past 3 years, this Dallas Cowboys team has had issues with stopping the run. This isn't anything new to this organization, Cowboys Nation. One of the things that every defensive coordinator says when they get the job for the Dallas Cowboys is they're going to come in and they're going to stop the run. Well, through the first 8 games of this season, not only did our defense have issues with stopping the run, they also had issues with not being able to get to the quarterback while also adding a new issue, and that's getting beat over the top with the deep ball. While the offense sat up in top 5 scenarios, the defense sat at the bottom 5. But let's keep it a buck, Cowboys Nation. Everybody knows that Brian Schottenheimer didn't handpick Matt Eberflus to be his defensive coordinator. He was the pick from the front office. So instead of having a coaching staff that Brian Schottenheimer handpicked himself, he has to witness his offense go on the field and have to score over 35 points each game in order to remain competitive during the game because Matt Eberflus's defense can't stop a nosebleed. How does that fall on Brian Schottenheimer other than the fact that he's the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys? It's not like he has the autonomy or the supervision or the authority to fire Matt Eberflus. That falls on the shoulders of the true head coach of this damn team, and that's Jerry Jones. Just when you thought Jerry Jones would give a little bit of autonomy over the team to Brian Schottenheimer, come to find out, that's not the case at all, Cowboys Nation. That the puppet master would be behind the scenes, pulling all the strings so that he could get the recognition, that he could get the credit for this team if they were successful during the season. Well, if we were to succeed, Jerry Jones would definitely get credit for it. In the midst of failure, Jerry Jones is going to have to take that credit as well. Then Joe Trahan talks about how Jerry Jones got Quinnen Williams for the team, but he fails to realize and mention the fact that Jerry Jones was the one that was responsible for hindering this team at the start of training camp to begin with. And you hindered this team by getting rid of one of your best players on the defensive side of the ball. Jerry Jones was responsible for breaking the team in the first place, so shouldn't he be responsible for repairing it as well, Cowboys Nation? It wasn't if Quinnen Williams was a luxury trade either. It was a trade made out of desperation because our defense was even worse because of his action, because of Jerry Jones' action. But Cowboys Nation, for the life of me, I cannot understand how some people will chalk this season up as a loss for our Dallas Cowboys team if we don't make it to the playoffs. This team has a lot of young players on it. A number of year one players being forced into action instead of being properly developed. A number of star players missing due to injury. A number of players coming back off season-ending injuries, including your franchise quarterback. So let's not act as if this team didn't go 7-10 last year. For this Dallas Cowboys team to start out the year with a 3-5-1 record before the bye and potentially end the season with a 10-6-1 record, in my eyes, that's a plus, Cowboys Nation. That is a net positive for this team moving forward. But I understand that the ultimate goal is to make it to a Super Bowl and win said Super Bowl. But that's also the goal for another 31 teams in this league. Some of these teams do a hell of a lot more than what Jerry Jones does for this Dallas Cowboys team. While Jerry and Stephen Jones parrot the talking points that free agency is a 365-day-a-year job, they don't approach free agency in that manner. When this team is staring at a glaring hole on the roster, the front office looks for the best affordable player in free agency, and they move with that. As much as Cowboys Nation loves the trade of George Pickens, let's not act as if Jerry and Stephen Jones broke the bank in order to acquire George Pickens. Dude was on his rookie contract, so it was a steal for Jerry and Stephen Jones. They didn't break the bank with Kenny Clark because that came with them fumbling the bag with Micah Parsons. Quinnen Williams wasn't a pocket buster either. They used extra draft capital that they had from the Micah Parsons trade, and Logan Wilson, he was a 7th-round pick, Cowboys Nation. So please, tell me how they did something that was different from what they've done in the past. So from my own personal opinion, I believe that this year for the Dallas Cowboys was a litmus test. I believe that this year was the year for Brian Schottenheimer to get comfortable in the role as head coach and offensive coordinator. I believe this year was a year for the offensive line to get much needed live action reps together, for George Pickens to find his footing in the offensive scheme, for him to get acclimated with Dak Prescott, for Dak Prescott to come from his season ending injury and get back on his feet. This year was a measuring stick for our Dallas Cowboys, Cowboys Nation. So is it unfortunate that there might be a chance that we won't make it to the playoffs this year? Yes, it's definitely unfortunate, but I'm not willing to say that that's a total loss for this iteration of the Dallas Cowboys. It's not a complete loss for Brian Schottenheimer or even Cowboys Nation. Does this set our Super Bowl aspirations back a year? Yes, but I don't know who in their right mind thought that this Dallas Cowboys team would make it to a Super Bowl in the first year of being together. So while Joe Trahan continues to put ungodly types of expectations on this Dallas Cowboys team, I'm going to continue to have my faith in this team. It may not be this year, but I'll continue to have faith that we will one day make it back to a Super Bowl, that we will once again be on top of the NFL. When this team starts the offseason with a great team is when I'll expect a hell of a lot more out of them, but I'll expect more out of Jerry and Stephen Jones before I expect more out of Brian Schottenheimer. Jerry and Stephen Jones have been a part of this team for over 30 years. Brian Schottenheimer has only been a part of this team for 3 years. What Brian Schottenheimer has shown me as a head coach is super encouraging, and I look forward to what he brings to this Dallas Cowboys team for the next 3 years. But this has been your man, the Angry Cowboys Fan. Cowboys Nation, what do you think about this season? Do you see it as a loss or as something we can build on for the future? Y'all know how we do. We always talk about it in the comment section. If you're digging this content and you want to help get the channel to its current goal of 20,000 subscribers, drop a like on this video, share this content with anybody that you know is a Dallas Cowboys fan, and if you're on your mobile device, make sure you hype this video. Doing so will almost guarantee that this content gets out to even more Dallas Cowboys fans so we can all represent the Dallas Cowboys together. And if you are DC for life and you see the positives out of this season, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell to be notified whenever I go live, release another video, podcast episode, film breakdowns, or Madden 26 or College Football 26 gameplay. People talk about the Cowboy standard, but they fail to realize that that hasn't been the standard in this building for the last 30 years. We got to stop living in the past Cowboys accomplishments, Cowboys Nation. They got to start making history for themselves today instead of worrying about stuff that we did back in the past. But this has been your man, the Angry Cowboys Fan, and I'm out. Dang, Angry Cowboys Fan, you done made it through the entire video. But if you want more content, you can definitely go to this video right here. Or if you want the latest episode of the Angry Cowboys Fan podcast, you can go right here. But whatever you do, like, share, and subscribe to the channel, but remain DC for life.